Now, how many people have been prevented from having a pet because their landlord or landlady simply says no? Well, there is a bill that is about to be introduced to end the no pets policy. Andrew Rosindell MP is the man, and we can talk to him now. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, good afternoon.
Right, obviously you're a dog lover yourself, or an animal lover yourself, is that right?
Yes, indeed. I've had 2 Staffordshire Bull Terriers.
Oh, we love the Staffies, don't we, Anna?
Totally. They're great dogs, wonderful dogs. Spike and Buster. Sadly, they're not alive anymore, but I had them for 25 years. So Spike was first, then Buster. So I know how vital it is to have a dog in your life, and how important it is to have a dog around you, and how terrible it is when you lose that dog.
I don't think there's ever been better timing for this, Andrew. I don't know if you heard our previous caller, or indeed we had a resident GP on yesterday who said that her concern for mental health is as strong as people with respiratory issues through COVID. And obviously a dog, or, another beating heart, something to stroke in your home, obviously does relieve tension and stress, doesn't it?
100% right, and this is perfectly timed, and I think that the government need to take note of this proposal, because too many people sadly have to give up their pets, the dogs and other animals, when they move home. Most landlords in this country have this quite unnecessary rule whereby if you go into a flat or a house and you rent, or you're allocated by the council or a housing association, there's a policy of no pets. So what that means is that the person has to give up their beloved animal, they lose their companion, and the trauma of that they have to go through. Then, of course, the animal themselves goes through the trauma and has no home to go to, and can often be abandoned or given to an animal sanctuary, or Battersea Dogs and Cats Home are telling me that it's the second most common reason why animals are abandoned. They have to take them in. And worst case scenario, of course, some animals will have to be put to sleep.
Yes.
So it's a very cruel policy, and it's not necessary. It really isn't. Why should anyone say that an animal is not welcome in their home? A home is for living, and animals are part of our lives, and we should allow them to remain with the people where they move. And landlords need to change their policies, or we should change the law to give people the right to own their own animal in their own home.
I love everything you're saying, Andrew. Anna, handing over to you. Go on.
Absolutely. Well, it's not only, Andrew, is it, private landlords. It's also affects, the rough sleepers in everywhere, really, as so many of them won't accept social housing on the basis that social housing won't allow their dog to come with them. And they'd rather opt for a cold pavement to be with their dog, which highlights exactly what you've been saying, this bond that exists between dogs and their owners.
Absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. In fact, I highlighted a case in my speech to the House of Commons yesterday where a gentleman had committed suicide because he couldn't take his pets to the home that he was allocated. And I think it's a tragedy that so many homeless people who finally then get offered accommodation then have to give away the animal that's been their companion that they love. So I think this is a cruel policy, and I think that it does need to change. It really does, and I'm overwhelmed at the support that I've received for this bill since I introduced it to the House of Commons yesterday. We've been inundated with support from people across the country, and of course every single animal charity and animal rescue organisation has also endorsed it as well. So I really hope the government listens and we get this legislation through as fast as possible.
So just explain to me, Andrew, how this works. You've introduced the bill, so now what happens? It's debated, is it?
Well, yes, it was a 10-minute rule bill, which is a device for backbenchers to bring a particular policy, a particular idea to the floor of the House, which is what I did yesterday. And I got 11 other MPs to co-sponsor it from 4 different parties. We had one Liberal, one DUP, and several Labour plus Conservatives. So it's got wide support, but the next stage is the second reading, which sadly is not till January. And then after then, there's no guarantee whether there'll be any time at all left to go through the final stages of the bill. So for it to become law, the government really need to give it time to be fully debated, to go through all the different stages, and then for the House of Lords to approve approve it. So being realistic, it's going to be very tough to get this through. So what I'm hoping for is the government will pick it up as a policy that the government will adopt and attach it to one of their own pieces of legislation, so that, or look at regulations that could be changed in order to ensure that this can be enforced. So this is a way of highlighting it to government, and hopefully someone in government, hopefully Boris, because he's an animal lover, hopefully he will listen and hear this and act upon it.
Do you know, the irony of this is I live in Marylebone, and you may be familiar with the fact that it's owned by two massive estates, and this is in the luxury market, and they have already started to relax their rules on animals, pets in the home. Simply, they've had to, because the properties are vacant. You know, a lot of these wealthy people have gone to their country houses and are no longer keeping pied-à-terres and London flats going. So these flats now are costing less and less to rent, and they're actually becoming more and more relaxed on the pet policy because needs must. So there's a great irony there, isn't there, Andrew?
I agree, and a lot of landlords, I hope, will listen to discussions like this and my speech in the Commons yesterday and actually review their policies. So a lot of it could be sold immediately if every landlord that hears about this thinks, do I really need to ban every pet? Yes, of course, if an animal is badly behaved, if the owner is irresponsible, of course there should be rules to stop that from happening. But the vast majority of animals are not badly behaved. They are properly cared for and looked after. So landlords should be at least flexible, and where an animal is well behaved and where the owner needs the animal, they should allow them, and councils should do the same where they're allocating council or housing association properties. So this is called Jasmine's Law, after a dog that couldn't stay with their owner, and I hope that Jasmine's Law will become the law of this country. But in the meantime, I hope everyone will think hard about the rules they impose if they rent properties, to avoid this situation from happening and more people can keep the animals that they love.